The way you interface with the internet is about to completely change. I'm Matt with Schematical, and today we're going to talk about the agentic revolution. Do you remember the first time you browsed the web? Do you remember the first time you searched Google? Do you remember the first time you got an email on your smartphone? Or how about the first time you booked an Uber? Or the first time you streamed a movie on Netflix? How about the first time your personal AI agent made a purchase on your behalf? You soon will. Change is coming. We're going to talk about three things in this video. What is changing? Your customer's AI agent will browse the web on their behalf. How is it changing? The AI agents will browse the web differently from their human counterparts. How can you get ahead of it? Products optimized for AI agents will be rewarded, while products not optimized will go extinct. Who am I? I help CTOs running on AWS sleep at night. I design massively scalable systems that can handle millions of requests a minute without slowing down or costing them a lot of money. I've got big clients that if they go down, they lose $100,000 an hour, so my systems can't go down. Right now, a lot of my clients are coming to me asking me, how do I host AI and machine learning models at scale? So I've dug in and found some interesting things I'm going to share with you right now. I equate this to the smartphone revolution, something we've all lived through in our lifetimes. It's not flying cars, it's not teleportation, but it still changes the way we interacted with the internet. Do you remember the old Blackberries or Motorola Razors from back in the day? And then remember when Steve Jobs came on stage and held up the iPhone with its liquid interface that immediately adapted to everything you would want to do for whatever task you're trying to do at that exact moment? It also added context, like the compass, Bluetooth, and GPS, so you could search for an Uber without having to type in your current address. Right now, I'm seeing every marketing person and branding person is trying to shove AI into every product and feature. One of the most common ways I see of them doing that is to shove a little chat widget in the lower right-hand side. And I don't believe that's the most effective way of doing it. So I'm going to show you a few ways we can do it that actually make sense. Let's start off with, what is an agent? Specifically, agentic software. This is a paradigm you're likely familiar with, browsing the internet. You hop on your computer, you type in search, you search whatever you like, and it returns an HTML page that renders it in a very pretty way that's designed for human consumption. Then, in 2021, you probably heard of a thing called ChatGPT, where you could hop in, type something, and it would type something back to you. Now, let's take a look at how this works under the hood first. There's the agentic software running on your machine or in the cloud. That takes an input and renders an output and uses a magical little thing called the LLM, or large language model. That's the brain of the whole thing. So your input goes in, write me a poem. The agentic software routes it to the model, which then responds to the output, and you've got yourself a poem. Now, this is phenomenal for cheating on your homework, but absolutely garbage for interacting with the world around it. It doesn't have much memory of you. It can barely remember the conversation you're having, and it couldn't reach out and schedule things on your calendar. Let's look at another paradigm that we've seen pop up, which is chatbots. The thing I'm seeing all the time is people just slapping a little chatbot in the lower right-hand corner of their website. Maybe it can interact with the website a little bit, but it really didn't have much context to the user that it was talking to. It didn't know their favorite food and all that other stuff. So it had very limited usefulness. It also makes for a very bad user interface. Let's look at personal agents in the year 2025. The big change here is that the agent actually gets to know you. It gets to remember things about you, and it can integrate in with the world around you and take action on your behalf. You can ask it things like, what do you remember about me? Now, your AI agent will get to work, and it will be able to remember things about you because it had memory. So the input would go into the agentic software. Software would tell the model, hey, this is what the user just asked. That would then say, okay, I'm going to write a query that will try and remember this. So the agentic software would then send that off to the database or to the memory, which then would respond to the model, and the model would summarize the database records or memory records it found into human readable language for the user to consume. This was a massive step forward in our ability to interact with these agents. Then we added tool calls. This is how we interacted with the world around us. What is the weather going to be in Madison, Wisconsin day? So we add a weather tool to that. Now the input comes in, that gets fed into the model. The model's aware it's got a weather tool. So then the model would tell the agentic software to call out to the weather tool, which then would reach out to the internet around it, gather all the information it needed about the current weather, and respond to the agentic software, which then passes the computer version of the weather into the model to be summarized into the human understandable version of the weather, and it's going to storm soon. So let's look at some real world use cases. Based on my previous preferences, shop for shoes I might like. Your agent will then take that information. Since we've added some additional tools here, let's just say one searching Amazon and one searching another shoe site, Zappos, I suppose, and pass that to the model. From there, the agentic software will then query your latest preferences. What shoes you previously got? Do you have pants that'll go with the shoes? And so on and so forth. It'll then feed that information back into the model. That'll formulate the tool calls. It'll tell the agentic software, call tool A and call tool B, which will then go out and query all the internet, searching for the products you want to buy, from which it'll send that information back to the agentic software, which will feed all that information along with your preferences back into the model. So the model can further filter out things that perhaps weren't filtered out by the tools and rank them specifically for you. And it'll summarize all that up, send it back, so you can view the shoes that you're trying to buy, in which case when you find the shoe you want, perfect, add it to the cart and buy it. A little while later, you'll be rocking your nice new kicks. So let's get into the technical side of things here. Web pages are not optimized for AI agents. Amazon's homepage has over 5,000 lines of code. All right, that's a lot of code for it to sift through and understand. And it, oddly enough, has a little duck that says meow hidden at the bottom of it. Here is a little clip of an agent browsing the web using a browser, using a software called Browser OS, which is not an operating system, but all the same. What it has to do with each page is take snapshots of it and kind of guess at where to click. And that consumes a lot of GPUs, compute cycles. It's not fast, nor is it cheap. Plus, it's prone to error here. So looking around, there's so many different things on the screen it could be clicking at. Buttons that have nothing to do with the task at hand. See all that stuff there? Every single one of those is a little distraction. So let's compare and contrast tool calls versus web pages here. And before I dive into that, just understand this talk that I'm doing right now is aimed more towards the business side of people, a little less towards the technical. So for our intents and purposes, function calls, tool calls, model context protocol, A2A and API are all lumped into the same bucket, when technically there are extremely important distinctions that should be made. But for our talk today, we're just going to keep going with this as tool calls. If you want specifics, check out schematical.com. I write about this stuff ad nauseum. Tool calls are optimized for AI agents. So this is about 15 lines of code that defines the function or the tool call search products and gives it a description that allows the LLM brain to understand what it does and tells it what it needs to be passed in order to do its job as far as information goes. It needs to be passed a query. Then, this is what the LLM then responds with. And it just says search products, and it tells the agentic software to pass in shoes as the query. From there, it will receive back a very simple response that doesn't have any of the bells and whistles, the CSS that makes it look pretty for humans. None of the extra 5,000, or I should say 4,500 lines of code. It just has the raw data about the products that it's searching right now. That has a couple of benefits here. First is cost. If you're not aware of this, LLMs are typically charged by the token, or basically per character grouping. So per letter you pass it. The more letters you pass it, obviously, the more it's going to cost you. If you pass it 15 lines of code, that's going to cost a lot less than 5,000. And the same goes for speed. If you pass it 5,000 lines of code, it's going to compute a lot slower than if you just pass it 15. And if you're not aware of this, Amazon found that every 1/10 of a second of latency costs them 1% in sales. So that adds up very quickly. Additionally, there's accuracy. There's so many more mistakes it can make. If the cancel button or the delete button is right next to the save button, you don't want it making a mistake about that. That could really be costly. So we want to feed it very exact tools and instructions instead of a web page, which is a massive collection of actions you could take. How can you get ahead of this? You run a small business or maybe a large one. You want to make sure you stay ahead of this thing. Understand this. First, search is changing. The days of Google allowing you to type in a search and returning results that best fit their marketers is quickly being challenged. Right now, your personal AI agent will do your shopping for you. It will do the research. When you want to buy that next car, you can run a deep research time and it will go out there on your behalf and find the car that perfectly fits your needs, not just the one that Google wants you to see. User interfaces won't matter. The price of writing these user interfaces and software in general has never been lower. So you will be able to ask it to generate you a dashboard to view whatever information you're trying to ingest the exact way you want to view it. I, for example, don't like walls of text, so I have it generate infographics for me for business ideas I'm researching. You could also have it read your morning news to you in the form of a podcast, like an old-timey radio show from the 1930s, or you could have it write your weather forecast into a haiku. Ads will change dramatically. You will be able to tell your personal agentic assistant what you want to read and what you don't want to read. And chances are you're going to say, hey, I don't want ads. So every time it consumes a web page, RSS feed, etc., it will filter out those ads for you. Now, I believe there's two things we're going to see come out of this. Likely, we're going to see a resurgence of the old newspaper model, where you pay for information and your news. The reason being is if these news agencies can't sell your eyeballs to marketers and get paid for peddling your attention, then they're not going to do it for free. The other thing we're going to see likely is that big tech will release a free version of personal AI agents that you will not be able to overwrite the rules. They will say what the rules are, and whoever uses it will end up not being able to override the ads, or ads will be re-injected at the end. If you use paid marketing, you really should have your eyes on this. I believe it will have significant effects on everybody. Aggregation and discovery are going to be key. Back when the internet first started, Google and Yahoo and a bunch of other ones made a killing for people using browsers to discover. The same will be true for MCPs, tool calls, etc. If you are building these tools, make sure that you are discoverable and using the latest technology. If you want to keep up to date on that, follow me at schematical.com. There will be first mover advantage. Imagine back in the 1990s that you run a bookstore and you ended up being the first bookstore to get online and have a website and sell books online, while your competitors are still selling only via bricks and mortar. You'd probably have a pretty good advantage there. In conclusion, the first rule of sales is make it easy for the customer to buy. In the future, it will be make it easy for the customer's personal agent to buy. What's next? Well, you should come check out schematical.com. I write about this. Me and my team are getting our clients ready to be browsed by AI agents. It's coming. Not much you can do about it. I'm not saying that you'll be completely dead in the water if you don't have it. Like, there are still brick and mortar bookstores, but none of them are competing with Amazon. So if you'd like to know more, reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you some more. With that said, I'm Matt with Schematical. Have a great day.